Reportedly, Apple could be investigating the idea of a gaming subscription service, kind of like Netflix, but I'm assuming for mobile games, which is a very bizarre headline to read this morning. But as we've all been talking about, Apple is reorienting themselves as a services company due to iPhone sales dropping and the plateau of the smartphone market. Trying to make big money from services makes sense, but is this the right way to do it? Today, I'll dive into the idea and what it could be. So let's begin. Now, before we talk about Apple going into a gaming subscription, do you guys like podcasts? Because there's a lot of subscribers we've gotten since the last time I've promoted the Talos of Tech podcast. But yeah, by the way, pretty much every single week we're going to be uploading a Talos of Tech podcast. There's an OG crew that will be there by default, and then every now and then we have a special guest star on. The last one was Richie. If you guys haven't heard of him, you need to check out his channel. He does really, really well in-depth reviews and analysis, especially when it comes to stuff like Apple, and he's a far smarter person than I am. And if you don't know who he is, listening to him on the Talos of Tech podcast would be a great way to get to know him. So please check that out. But now, self-promotions aside, how exactly would Apple's gaming subscription service work? In my mind, I understand that Apple is a gaming company. And if you disagree with that statement, I highly, highly recommend you check out a different YouTuber called Polymatter. Haven't got this guy down yet for a podcast, but it would be fun. He does a video called Why Apple is a Gaming Company, and it's probably not because of the ways you're traditionally thinking. You're thinking, well, Apple doesn't make game consoles, they don't make AAA games, they don't own Steam, they don't own Origin, they don't own Epic. Why is Apple a gaming company? In that video, he goes in depth in explaining how that the mobile game industry, primarily the game industry on the iOS App Store, is booming, explosive, and accessible to a very, very large portion of people. Now, the first dilemma that pops up into my head when I hear the first pitch for the Apple gaming subscription service is, well, okay, how exactly does that work? How much does it cost, and what benefits do you get out of it? So, what a lot of articles have been pitching online right now is they're saying you'll pay a monthly fee, obviously. What that fee will be, I think it'd be smarter to be on the lower end side, but you know, in the grand scheme of things, it sounds like subscription services all find their sweet spot at around $9 to $10 a month, and then it would give you certain paid games for free that you could use as Apple makes them available. Similar to Netflix having to research and get the royalty so that they can distribute and stream certain content, Apple would do that very similar thing with paid apps, which could simply mean that a lot of apps that would cost a lot of money up front or a lot of money in the first place, you would now get for free as long as you were paying for this Apple gaming subscription plan. Now, when I first hear about that, I go, okay, that's kind of interesting, but here's my biggest problem. I think the majority of games people play on both iPhone, iPad, and everything iOS, if you think about it, are mostly free. Fortnite's one of the most popular games right now, and that one's definitely free, but if you do some research about which games actually make the most money in the industry, you'll be surprised to find the free-to-play games actually can make more money than the paid games, which is a very bizarre statement, and when you first hear it, you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. How could the free games make more money? Well, apparently the business model of making a game that's easy access and everyone can play is a better way to get your game in your in-game currency, whether that's V-Bucks, credits, or whatever Candy Crush currency you guys can imagine. Get that in front of people and show them what features in the game they can unlock, while of course still offering the game to be free to play, is appearing to be a better option for making people money because people are able to separate in-app purchases from actual prices. That's why in games they work so hard to mentally dissuade you from the fact that you're paying money for anything that's going on, because you're not thinking, oh, this game costs $7, or oh crap, this game costs $5. You're thinking, oh, I'm playing this free game that I enjoy a lot, and if I pay this $5, then that will unlock this feature or this game mode, and then I'll be able to enjoy this game more. This is something I do on a regular basis. This is something I'm used to playing, and because I'm used to playing that, this money is well worth my time. Whereas if you have the asking price for your game on the front end, that means it's not part of your daily life. This isn't something you're used to doing already, and you just kind of have to watch the ads of the game or watch the trailers of the game and think, well, I guess that kind of looks like fun, now I'll make the purchase. We've reached this point in the developer field where they've realized that free-to-play is likely the better way to go, and you could probably make more money doing so. Not that all games that cost money are bad. In fact, there's a lot of games I love playing on both my iPhone and iPad that do have a little bit of a starting price. It's usually not very much, but then rooting this all back to the Apple gaming subscription service, this makes me wonder, how would that work? Given, for the most part, the most popular games are the free ones and the ones with in-app purchases where you make money within the app, and because the game is something the user is accustomed to playing, they feel like the price is worthy of the in-game experience. So with a subscription service, how is Apple going to entice people to subscribe? I think there's a couple of ideas they could go with. I think if they partnered with some of these game developers that make some of the most popular games on the iOS App Store, they could start giving away certain in-game currencies and certain bonuses that will be really, really easy for developers to activate. Essentially, a lot of apps right now may have an in-app purchase that's $3 or $5. Perhaps Apple will make a way to integrate it into the game that Apple Gaming members on the iOS App Store will be able to unlock those things by default and maybe per month get a certain amount of in-game currency. Then people will see that $10 monthly subscription price, or it would be much better, by the way, if it was like $5 a month or $3 a month. That would be sweet. That would be great, but this is Apple, so I'm just assuming it's gonna be $10. Then people would be paying for that monthly subscription and be realizing, oh, these in-game credits would normally cost this much, but luckily I'm an Apple iOS gaming member, so that means that I get this credit for a cheaper price, for a discounted price, because as we know, like Apple in the iPhone upgrade program, getting people on a contract is a much easier way for people to feel like they're saving money, but in the long run, Apple understands and Apple knows that they have a guaranteed customer coming back to them once a month, opposed to no gaming service where you just kind of have to hope that they buy games or that they buy in-app currency or they buy loot or skins or whatever that's going on inside the game. You just kind of hope they come around to it, whereas the subscription model, getting people into this locked contract, that means a lot more people would be paying them in the long run because they think they're saving money, because they're like, oh, if I didn't pay for the subscription service, the in-app currency would cost this much between all these different apps, but thanks to Apple, I'm saving money, even though regardless, they probably wouldn't have bought that in-app currency every single month to begin with. And we know that Apple's toying around with a lot of different subscription plans, so perhaps they'll start partnering them together. Apple Music, Apple Gaming, you bunch them together for a discounted price, and now people are paying extra per month, but they feel like they're getting more out of it. They're getting more V-Bucks, they're getting more credits, but they're also getting all of Apple's music, and once again, Apple found a way to make as many customers possible be on a monthly charged basis, and that means services income for Apple can go up. So that's my theory on why Apple could be experimenting with this. Of course, nothing is set in stone. It might not happen at all, but I'd love to hear your guys' idea of what the gaming subscription service could be. Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? How much should it cost? All that good stuff. Let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you in the next one.